Well, hello everyone. What a thrill to be sitting here with you at the third annual Low Carb Lifestyle Long Weekend. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're watching this in the free version or you've paid to support the hub and now have access to watch this as many times as you like. I can't thank you enough for being here. And of course, thank you to all the wonderful presenters who've donated their time, their knowledge, their insight, their just incredible passion to share what they know in terms of using low carb for health and then sharing that with you out of the goodness of their heart. So thank you so much to all the presenters. So to open the summit today, I have a very dear friend and fellow health coach, Tia, with me. Tia, thank you for agreeing to open the summit and have a chat about a few things around low carb with me today.
Hi, Tracy and everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be a part of this and looking forward to learning from all the amazing speakers. I can't believe the brilliant women that's coming in to talk and be our lecturers and educators. So exciting.
Yeah. Oh, I so agree. I think, it just constantly amazes me how much people just have huge hearts in the space and just want to help people. And, of course, we've all had our own journey coming into this. And, there's a reason why we're all so passionate about sharing this information. And largely for most of us, it's come from our own personal health story. Do you want to just share with everyone a little bit about yours? What I'll say is in the information below, I did a recent interview with Tia and she really went through her full health journey there. So please do watch that if you're interested in learning deeper. But just for now, just a short summary, Tia, what did your life look like before low carb?
Oh gosh, before low carb, like she had said in my journey, there were so many things wrong with me. It was almost like it wasn't for real. Type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver, obesity, sugar addiction, carbohydrate addiction. I had a GERD, acid reflux, so many things wrong with me. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah. So, you would imagine, I suppose, with all of those things, it just gets one thing after another after another. I mean, how overwhelmed did you feel, with all of that going on?
Oh gosh, you're tired, you're sick, you don't want to go to anything. You don't want to be with your friends, your family, you avoid situations so you don't have to be around people. It was just a horrible feeling. It really was. Really, it's just horrible. And finding out that, I did that if food addiction and carb addiction was real was a life changer for me. And I'm sure many people once they find that out and know they can be helped, it's a game changer.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I think it's so hard for people to see because our drug is everywhere. And I mean, basically from birth, we're put on these drugs, these foods that create this addiction. And it's very hard, I think, for people to see it. And when you do see it and you realize that you can get help and there are things you can do, I mean, Wow, that's the purpose of why I do this, because you go to a doctor, most doctors will not even ask you about your diet. So to know and have this information is just life changing.
Well, and I went to so many doctors and none of them ever said, "Hey, why don't you try this uh keto or low carb nutrition?" No one ever said that. It was always like, you better eat less, measure your food, move a
Mm.
little more. And I felt so, I didn't want to, when I was 250 pounds, I didn't want to walk around. I couldn't run. I couldn't uh, be in sports or anything like that. So nutrition is the very first thing you should tackle because everything else
Yeah.
falls in place,
Yeah, it's so
you
true.
know?
It's the foundation, isn't it? It's the foundation
Yeah.
of everything. And what I love too about what you've shared is that, what you really can see is how much life you have now, that health is, you
Yeah.
have your health back. And that's everything. I've got shivers just talking about it, because it's so easy to kind of put health, second, third, fourth. Oh, I'll deal with that next time. I'll deal with that next year. I'll deal with that after Christmas. I'll deal with that. The brain says all this stuff about, putting it off. But at the end of
Oh,
the day, without health, we can't live the life we want to live. And, that must be hugely changed for you.
oh yeah, the what you call the lizard brain. I mean, talk was in my ear constantly, constantly, and now I have power over that. Those thoughts. It's such a the best feeling ever, and
Yeah.
knowing that addiction is a brain illness and it can be treated, and that there's others like me out there. And there's so many support groups. I wish I would have had more support groups or known about it, to have that support, because it's vital to have
Mm,
a group of people that
mm,
that have the same things that you're going through to support you on the way.
mm. So just briefly, so with dietary changes and obviously all the things that have come with that, are you in a position where you are, healed and your health, you're not, you're no longer type 2 diabetic, you haven't got any issues? Is that where you are now with your health?
Yes, yeah, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because, I do want to go outside and walk. I do want to implement some weight training if I can, a couple times a week. I don't bust my butt or anything, but I get out there and get in the sunshine. And I had such bad depression and anxiety before, with all the things that were wrong with me, and it just gives you a different look at life. You look at life through a different lens.
I love that so much. And, very interesting that you did bring up mental health, because, I've done so much study and work looking at the links of nutrition and how it impacts our brain. And, it's no surprise to me that, you have clarity and, don't, I guess, suffer from those conditions anymore, because the brain also, like our body, it has needs that foundation of good nutrition. And, for some reason, it's hard for people to make that link.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with the change in diet, did you notice a lift, or how long did it take before you noticed things changed? And is it then the understanding of how our mind works that really was that sort of final piece for you?
Well, I think, like for me, when my doctor said addiction is, that really hit home with me. So I
Mm,
had to change my behavior. And that was to think, okay, this isn't a diet. This is going to have to be a lifestyle. So I had to have awareness, right? And if you don't have awareness, you can't do anything about it. You can't take insight into it. So once I had awareness, like, for example, I would write down how I would feel possibly after I ate something. And if it made me feel bad, then I know I needed to take it out of my diet. So, there's all kinds of things that happen. I wondered how I was going to afford it, because you think, you think
mm.
when you start this, you have to go get the best organic, like I love the way Ken Berry says, panda massaged meat.
Yeah.
But you don't. You can do it. Anyone can do it. I
Mhm.
wondered how I was going to do it.
Mm, mm,
But you start feeling good, and then your medications get eliminated, and you feel better and your brain fog clears, and after a while you don't even think of it as a lifestyle change. It's just what you do and you feel good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So, just a little bit about how I met you. I'd love to share that. We connected through the Nutrition Network, who I'm openly in love with and share very much around
You.
the work they do, and I love them. And of course, if the people watching, if you go to the bonus section, they have actually kindly shared about their programs and have gifted a discount of 20% to any summit participant who wants to go and do, yes, so maybe I'll do it, take up any of their courses, which is brilliant. But that's how we met. So I was really lucky to be involved in their first Nutrition Network certified coaching program that you were a participant on. And what a thrill that was for me as a personally, being asked to be involved in that as a coach and a mentor. But then, it's just opened my world, hugely, to connect with people like yourself. I mean, I love community, I love connection, but just the world is so big and beautiful. And there's people like you on the other side of the world who have had this amazing transformational journey and now want to really help, obviously, others, make that journey themselves. So it was such a thrill to connect. What did you think about that program? Did you love it?
It was the most excellent program. It just opened doors for me too. But I just want to tell anyone that's interested, you don't even have to take any of those courses to be a coach or anything like that. I started it out just to help myself and have awareness and get more tools in my tool belt to succeed in my own journey. And
Yeah.
Nutrition Network gave me all that I needed and then some. I was able to follow a Nutrition Network path and become a certified as a Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners. And those courses are so amazing. You're like addicted to them. You take one, you're like, wow, that was great. And you can do them on your own time. I don't know. I just thought they were amazing.
Yeah, it's a good addiction to have. But I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that. I do love how you say that. Like, you may not have designs on actually becoming a coach like you and I are. And of course, you work full time. You're a director of
That's right.
nutritional services at a
Yeah.
hospital. So, one of these people that just kind of do so much. And this is my full time job, though. I don't have any other work. I just am so into the work that I do. But those courses, 100%. Just to have the knowledge, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about when we cover the barriers, because we are told the wrong thing in so many avenues in the world that we live in now, and we're told to eat in a way that isn't actually aligned with our health and our long-term health. Having the knowledge ourselves of the science behind low carb is really, really important for when people question what you do, when you might go to a doctor and they question what you do. And you can have
Yeah.
that comfort of, well, that's fine. I know that's all you see because that's all you know, and that's coming from your belief. But I've done the work, I have the knowledge, and I know that it's okay, and I will be all right, and my health is improving doing things this way.
It's just amazing.
Mm,
I mean,
mm,
knowledge, it gives hope, right?
mm.
Knowledge gives hope, and hope gives willingness, and then willingness gives action.
Love it. Yes, it does. Well, should we get on to the barriers? What I wanted us to talk about as two coaches that obviously have done this ourselves, but now help other people to do it. We have that collective insight around what we've seen work with others and what we haven't. So I guess I'm putting on the coach hat here for us to talk about,
Yay.
what we have seen as the biggest barriers, particularly when people start out, but then what might come up along the way. And then, we can share, we'll take it in turns in sharing our insight around how we can see something new around that. Because the thing with any obstacle or barrier, I mean, that's life, that there are many that are going to come up. If we expect none to come up, we're going to be extremely disappointed. So there will be challenges, but the way I see it is there's a way around every challenge, and the brain might want to say give up, or it's too hard, or you can't do it. it can have all those conversations, but we can actually still align what we're doing with what matters to us and still keep moving forward and find a way around things. So that's what I really want us to be able to, offer people today.
Well, like even that you even touched base with one time about how predictability change is unpredictable and it's scary for your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that was scary for me starting this journey. I was totally scared.
Yeah.
And your mind's going to tell you everything, like you said, it's going to tell you can't do it, you're not worthy. So you have to take a hold of, hey, you're on this journey for yourself to get yourself better. And it's going to affect your family, your friends, your work, and yourself. And you're going to just be so much better.
Yeah, it's true. And the thing with that is that all minds say that. So my mind says that too. And my mind said that in the beginning. And every mind of a client that sits in front of me says that too. And it's normal because our brain is there to keep us safe. And it doesn't want us to take risks. It doesn't want us to change. But we can see, exactly like you said, that, you don't have to be hooked into that. You don't have to follow that thinking. You can have it all there, but really knowing why you're doing it is a really, really important part of constantly coming back to that when your mind wants to take you off somewhere else and lead you down another path. So that, I think that's a really important thing to do in the beginning. Why are you doing it? What is the purpose? What do you want to get out of this? And why does health matter to you? What are all the other things that health brings you? Like we talked about at the start, like what you can do now versus what you couldn't do when you were really unwell and actually thought you were going to die. I've heard you say that.
Yeah. And I didn't know that my thoughts were optional.
I know. Neither did I.
No one told me that the thought couldn't make me eat something. I didn't know. I didn't know I could choose.
Yeah, does it? It's so empowering, isn't it, when you do know it? And why we're not, why we're not taught this, I think, because so many people just don't know. To me, it's the biggest illusion that we live in under as human beings. We only ever operate from our thinking. Like we can't operate in any other way. We're influenced totally by what's around us, but we're only ever driven by our own thoughts. So if we want to change behavior, we have to change our thinking, and changing our thinking is just merely saying, well, you know what, that thought that leads you to do that, you actually don't have to follow that. You can sit in whatever that feeling brings and say, you know what, if I don't follow that, guess what else is going to come through? A buffet of new thought, new ideas, that maybe I'll follow that one.
And I think expecting for it to be uncomfortable and just knowing that that's going to happen, just, it makes it okay. You're like, okay, so I messed up. I'll just start the next meal, I don't even have to wait another day, just the next meal.
No, that's right. Because what's the common thinking around when we make mistakes? Well, we think it's our fault. We think we're undisciplined. We think we lack willpower. And then we're like, oh, what's the point then? May as well just, I mean, I've done that many times. You've probably done it. Every client that I've been with has done it until we see we don't have to do that anymore. It's like, expect it to be hard. Expect mishaps to happen. We're humans.
And change, it does take courage. It does take courage. And we all have it. We all have it right inside each one of us.
Yeah, we don't have to get that.
I didn't know I had it in there. I thought, I didn't have any willpower. I was just weak. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But you're not.
No. Oh, I love it. Let me have a look at one of the things I wanted to sort of talk about that is something that's important is, I think, I've been in the space. So I came across low carb about 9 years ago. So I was 40 at the time, and I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. I couldn't lose weight. I was overweight. I was feeling really yucky. And, one thing led to another, and, we found Prof Notes and everything. And that obviously has changed my life. Yeah, totally amazing. But back then, I'd say, you know, there was always the challenges that come with any change, but it was actually probably a little bit easier. I mean, we didn't have as much support, but it also wasn't as noisy as it is now. And one of the things I see now with people coming into the space is that what's happened in the last 9 years is it's really become dietified and quick fixified, I call it. There's a lot of people come into it to make money and to convince us again that we can't trust ourselves, that we have to count food, that we have to, do it this way. It has to look like this. And I think that makes it really appear really overwhelming for people when they come into the space. So one of the things that I'd love us to do is to kind of demystify a lot of that. You know, how simple can this way of eating be for you, Tia? How do you see it?
Well, it's so simple. I don't count anything. I don't. I just eat whole foods, nothing from a box, nothing processed, just whole animal-based foods. I might have ate banana in the morning and cereal and oatmeal, oatmeal and toast, thinking I was a healthy meal, and I'd be hungry within an hour. And now I eat a nice, tasty omelet and some bacon, and my breakfast might be at noon, or it might be at 1 o'clock. And it's just crazy how you stay full for so long.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
stay full for so long. And
yeah.
I tell people, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're probably always going to just get what you've been getting. So why not try it? Try it for 30 days and see what happens, and see how you feel, and see how your brain fog goes away, and you feel like going up, getting out and doing things, and making a call to your family.
So it's exactly like that. I mean, I keep it simple too. Would you believe the only thing I've ever counted in my life was fat in my 30s? I counted fat.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
But when I started, that was the advice, and the doctors will still say this: just switch your foods. It's about the foods you're eating. Choose nutrient-dense foods that are full of high-quality animal protein and good quality fats. And then whatever else you want around that your body can tolerate, great. But that's how simple it can be. And when we do eat that way, which is how we're designed to eat, everything kind of balances and rebalances, and we learn to connect again with our hunger and our fullness signals. Because I know for me, when I was insulin resistant, I never felt full. And it was, like you said, I would eat, 2 hours later, I'd be hungry again. And my mind, even after I finished food, was already onto what am I going to have next. I was obsessed with food.
Exactly. I was always doing that too. At lunch, you're figuring out what you're going to eat for your snack and your dinner, and you haven't even finished what you've eaten.
Just think about that compared to now, like how much brain storage has been freed from thinking about food, and now is more focused on just living your life and doing the things that bring you joy rather than obsessing about what to eat.
Absolutely. Even going on vacation, it was all based around where are we going to eat, when are we going to eat, and now we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll eat sometime later.
Yep. So, it does take a little while to get there, but that's the possibility. That's the potential, really. I think hunger is, our bodies are so clever and so well designed, and hunger kind of just never settles down when we're not feeding our body nutrients. And, processed foods, oats, cereals, they're not full of nutrients. They're full of, sugar and, just lack anything. So for a lot of women in particular, we eat what we think well all day, and then by the time we get to dinner, we are starving. And if we think we've got what it takes to let go the thinking that says, oh, just grab what's quick and easy, we can't, because our bodies are just under so much pressure and stress to get in nutrients because we're not feeding it right.
Yeah, and I think keeping it simple, someone else told me this before, and I thought it was a good idea. Just shop on the outsides of the grocery store where the vegetables and the meats are. Don't go in the middle.
No. There's nothing in there apart from maybe laundry detergent or something,
Yeah, but they're trying to mess us up a little bit and putting stuff out on the edges now.
Yes. Yes, they're
Or,
doing it that year as well.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
keep,
But we're
when you're looking at ingredient lists, don't get anything with more than a few ingredients on it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, ideally, you don't want to pick up a packet at all. But if you are picking up something as a, just like a quick alternative, like some sea crackers we can buy here now, just check the back, see what's in it. If you don't recognize it, put it back. If it's sugar and seed oils to start with, put it back, which most packaged foods are. But also, I don't know what's happening in the US, but here, the price of real food is unfortunately becoming even, it's very expensive. And, of course, the cheap rubbish food is alluring because it's very cheap, but cheap to buy, cheap for your body. And we will feel it. I mean, we feel it if it's not in the hip pocket now, it's down the track, as we know. And it's, I think we just have to get clever. We have a nutritionist who's doing a talk around how to make keto affordable for the family. We just have to know that it matters and it's important, and we just have to navigate it. Like, we buy in bulk now and we freeze as much as we can. And, just doing things like that, getting things when they're close to the use by date, they're often cheaper, and then you just freeze them. There's definitely ways around it. And I just think money cost is an excuse if we let it be. Otherwise, it's just another barrier that, when we get quiet and when we see, well, this matters to me, I'm going to work out how to make it work, you'll do it.
And I think if you're feeding yourself proper nutrition, you'll find you have more money to spend on nice quality food because you're not spending it on medications. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's what happened. I was spending so much money on over 20 medications and insulin, and I thought, how am I going to afford this? But now I'm spending it on food, on nice quality food. Yeah,
and I love it. It's such a gift. I every time I go shopping, I just feel very blessed that I can go shopping to buy and feed. I've got a big family, and I'm like you. I don't buy grass-fed organic meat. I can't afford it. My goodness, I would be broke if I did. So I buy what I can afford. And that's my advice to my clients as well, and to you watching. You buy what you can afford. And, we know with the high quality evidence that Peter Ballistead talks about, that, the nutritional difference between conventional and grass-fed is very minuscule. And of course, there's other ethical things going on, that we can argue about. But, at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. And that's just such an important thing. You're doing your best. You just do what you can and get what you can afford.
Just eat whole, tasty, real food.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And another thing that I'd like to touch base with is, and I learned this from Dr. Siwas, was that a snack was an emotional event. So instead of snacking, get up and do something, take a walk, read a book, listen to a podcast from the Low Carb Healing Hub.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, when your metabolic hormones start to balance and your mind shifts and you're not obsessing with food so much because you're not so hungry, you've also got, that ability to notice so much more. Well, is that real hunger or not? Because I think sometimes when we're sick and insulin resistance, it's really hard because I think we're just hungry all the time.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're more in tune with your own body and what the food you're putting in is making you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. All these things that people have to look forward to. In terms of other barriers, I think, one of the things, I mean, we've kind of touched on it, but one of the things I think that eating a diet doesn't matter the name, it's just real food. It's just more eating a human diet that, we've evolved to eat. When we do all that and all these amazing things start to happen, that we get the opportunity to practice stepping into our true self. And, it can be really uncomfortable in the beginning, as you said, but uncomfortable in terms of you may have friends or family who are used to you eating these, going out for pizza or having beer or going out for drinks or being the one that ate that at the parties, and when you stop doing that, that can cause discomfort in you, but also an interesting reaction in them. Now, that reaction in that other person's got nothing to do with you, but some may be supportive, some may be, you know, offended, some strange reason, but, you know, it can, you know, all these little things start happening that to me are actually gifts, because that's going to help us grow, and that helps us become more confident in making our own choices for us. But there can definitely be some moments when that mirror is right in front of your face, and you know, you feel a center of attention. Everyone's looking at me, everyone's watching me, you know, which they're not, because they're too busy worrying about themselves, but it can feel that way.
Yeah, you feel like you're being judged, but I feel it's good to just come clean with your family and friends and say, these foods are making me sick, so I'm going to protect myself, and this is what I need to do. And if I find that, you know, your family and your friends that love you, they're going to be like, oh, well, she can't have that, so we'll make it this way, or she's going to bring her own thing, because they know now that I'm going to bring a few things so that I can protect myself. So gotta protect yourself.
Yeah, I think that's
From
right.
yourself.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I just think it's too, you know, it's their reaction is really their reaction, and, you know, seeing that it isn't anything, you know, that is about you. Again, it just, you know, the growth, I suppose, if I talk about my own personal experience, you know, for the last 9 years, I mean, the confidence to live my life has just been astronomical, you know, and nothing's changed other than I've changed the way I eat, and I've really just embraced the discomfort and all the things that have come my way since that's happened. And, you know, I think not fearing that is a big thing. You know, so much of what we do in our life is because we're running away from discomfort, whether that's internally created or from what other people think about us, or, you know, there's so many things that will come up. But I think it's just such a beautiful opportunity to see that, as you said in the start, we have everything we need inside, and we're not broken, and we're not a problem to be solved, which is the topic of my talk on day 3.
I can't wait.
Because that is the thing. We fight, we struggle with ourselves, we berate ourselves. We're our own worst enemy most of the time. Is it helping? No, it doesn't help us. It doesn't give us what we want. It doesn't take us towards, you know, change being easy. It doesn't take us towards feeling good in ourselves. And, you know, we deserve that, don't we?
Yeah, and I love in some of the training that you did in Nutrition Network, where you told us that a thought was just like a cloud in the sky. It just passes by, and you don't have to hold on to it. And that resonated with me so much, and it's beautiful, and I can't thank you enough for that, because it's a great, and you can just pause and wait for the next thought.
Yeah, it is great. Life changing moment to moment when you see that, because then because you connect that thinking with your feeling, right? So it's
right.
we might some people don't notice the thought, particularly, you know, if they're really deep ingrained thinking, you know, we may not actually be aware of the thought, but we sit in the feeling. And knowing, you know, that you might be noticing the feeling in your body, but it's all coming from the thinking that you have at the moment.
Yeah, just observing your thoughts and your feelings and how it connects to your behavior is life
being
changing.
Curious,
you know, that you're only ever sitting in your own thinking. You're stinking thinking.
Thinking. It's so
and
true.
it does dictate our behavior
Every minute of the day.
Yeah.
Minute of the day. And how often do we step back and watch that and notice that?
Yeah.
Very often. And I didn't until someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, Tracey, you know where your experience of life is coming from? It's not coming from out there. It's coming from in here.
Yeah. And you don't hardly, I didn't in the beginning of my journey ever question my thinking, you know? If I would have known, you know, to make a list, or, hey, why am I thinking? Do I really need that? Am I really hungry? Why am I getting in the fridge for the 15th time today? You know?
Yeah, totally. I think it is human nature. It's interesting that we speed up when we get in this, you know, on this treadmill, you know, and we know, well, those hamster wheels, we just don't know how to get off sometimes. It's not our fault. It's just that, that's just all we see to do. And, I think the potential of what we can see in life when we understand, even if it's just that, that's everything. Because that gives you so much more power back to change.
It does. And another thing was, if it makes you feel bad, then don't take it seriously because there's probably something wrong with it.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're in a low mood or you're upset or you're angry, again, we want to react because we want to get rid of it. It's human nature. We don't like feeling like that. So that's when
Yeah.
we tend to eat or drink or yell or do the things that we don't want to do. But seeing that we actually don't have to take that thinking seriously is
You don't have to act
cool.
on it.
We don't have to act on it because it'll pass just like the clouds.
Yeah. Well, you have today my favorite book right now. Has a wonderful, beautiful insight.
Self-promotion.
Yes, I love it.
I've always got it right here.
Keep extra copies for my friends.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah, well, that's true.
The considering cup. You haven't talked about the considering cup because that's a very good analogy that's helped me through a lot of things
share
even
that.
now. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that?
Oh, I think you should tell us.
Oh, well, the considering cup is a cup that when people first start at this, so if you're new to low carb and you're curious and you want to give it a go, get yourself a cup and understand that, the way human beings work is that over time we develop beliefs and thought systems, what's called a thought system. And when you understand that our thought system isn't designed to be tampered with, it doesn't like to be threatened, it doesn't like to be challenged. When we come across new ideas and new thought, what our brain tends to do is want to instantly dismiss it. So that's a trick. That's that trick to stop us from evolving, from changing. My mantra is thoughts and beliefs are made to be broken. We can hold them really, really lightly. And that's what your considering cup is a really good thing for. Notice how quickly, maybe even while you're watching this summit, it would be really, really good. Notice how quickly your brain wants to dismiss something that someone might say. And instead of following that, right, give yourself a little bit more opportunity to see new stuff by just writing it down and putting it in your considering cup. And that way you're not dismissing it. You're actually giving yourself an opportunity to let it sit there and see whether it's worth your attention. And you can go back to it in a few days and look at it and go, yep, or no. You ultimately always get to decide, but don't let your brain just decide for you without giving your heart, who you are, not this habitual brain who doesn't want you to change. Give yourself an opportunity to decide whether it might be worth for you or not.
And that considering cup, you can take that to work with you.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. I had a bowl.
Yeah. I know, I had a massive one too.
Yeah.
And it is. It's like you do stuff like that at the start that it's so not intuitive. It feels so funny at first, but over time it becomes a part of you. And I notice even now, like I might be watching something or listening to something, and I notice that, thought of, oh, that's ridiculous, or how silly is that? And then I'm like, no, just gonna let that go. I'm just gonna leave it over here and
just let it pass for a little while, see what happens.
Yeah. Because it's not a threat to me. When we were evolving, change meant you could have, if you did something different from the tribe and you were on your own, you wouldn't have survived. But we live in a very, very different world now. And really, I think a big part of healing is seeing how and understanding how our brain and body works and not fighting it anymore, but just hacking it, just understanding it so that we have so much more choice about the decisions that we want to make in our life and where we want to go with the one life we've got.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Because, and like you said before, it's really easy to think that our thinking represents reality.
Wow, that's great. Yes, But is it reality or is it just your reality?
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, that's the window. You know, we all see the world through our own field of beliefs, interactions, stories that we've had since we were born, that we've accrued over time. The thing is, that's my window and you have yours, and they're all unique. And how can you see the world in the same way that I do? It's impossible. But I can not, when I understand that, I don't get offended or upset if you see something different to me. I get curious as to how it looks to you.
Yeah. It's interesting because everybody's got a different lens.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do.
Yeah.
And you free people to just see it in the way they are going to see it. But you know that connection is the only, if you want to influence someone or impact someone, connection's everything. And understanding, you know, that's it, not judgment.
And when you are thinking a certain thought, you know, is it really worthy of your attention? If it's making you feel bad, is it worthy of your attention?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you
Most
ask
of the
yourself those
time.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not. I
Yeah.
think I might have said this to you before, you know, I very much don't trust my thinking. And you know, when you first hear that, you know, people are like, but how else do you navigate life? I'm like, don't worry. There is plenty of messaging coming through all the time that's fresh and new when we step away from this treadmill of always thinking the same things or having the same thoughts going over and over again, which is, again, yeah, part of just how our brain works. It's not who we are, though. And I love knowing, well, who we are, who I am. I don't know. I'm just who I am when I'm present in the moment.
Yeah. Being present in the moment is so important.
Mm.
And I had to learn that. You know, I had to learn to be present because I wasn't present for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Where are we, though? You know, that's the thing, too. We don't realize that when we're up in our head, we can't be present and connected with other people. You know, it's a really big, it's like kindness. I think I talked about this last night. We actually have to learn how to be kind to ourselves because we're so, you know, this is so horrible and so hard on ourselves, you know, and I know a lot of people, you know, watching this will resonate with that, but, you know, being curious and questioning that and stepping back from it, that's all you need to do to see something different and see something else.
I think, and one thing that helped me is one of the conversations in the hub. We talked about like gratitude, making like a gratitude, thinking about, you know, a gratitude every morning. What are you grateful for before you even start your day? I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, well, just a great example of that. It's interesting because my little 7-year-old boy, he just he never wants to go to school. He just loves being at home. When he's at school, he's fine. Like, I've spoken to his teacher. He's so happy there. He loves it. He's fine. He just loves being home. He's my little boy. And, you know, he says to me, oh, you know, I love Saturday and Sunday because I don't have to go to school, and I don't like Monday because I wake up and I've got to go to school. And I just say to him, I said, well, isn't that interesting? I said, you know, you've got 11, 12 more years of school. Do you only ever want to enjoy it on the weekends? You know, I said, you can wake up and you can decide to follow the thinking that says it's boring, or you can go, you know what? I'm going to find a way to enjoy my day when I'm at school. I'm going to find a way to do it. You know, it's our responsibility to find that, but we just have to step away from maybe the first habitual thoughts that come up around how you see it. Because when you do that, it's like you'll just see stuff you've never seen before.
It's amazing.
Should we talk a bit more about the food to finish?
Sure. Yeah.
I was just, it's interesting. I think the beliefs, the overwhelm, they were the biggest things that I really wanted to talk about. But, you know, along with the overwhelm, what happens is, you know, it's very hard to make a decision when we're overwhelmed. So when people first come into it, you know, I get that question all the time. I just don't know how to start. Well, you just got to start, but you've got to start and know that the journey will unfold for you. You do not have to know everything which is what our brain loves to tell us too. Or you've got to know
Yeah.
every single thing before you don't start. You do not. You just need to take that one step and know that it will evolve. And I like to sort of talk about, well, just look at that first meal you eat, right? And make that quality nutrition, make that eggs, make it meat, make it real food. If that is the only thing you do, the evolution from that and the flow on effect from that will be amazing, because you'll realize, 2 hours in, you're still not hungry.
Yeah.
Getting to lunchtime now, and I still feel really good, and I've got enough energy. All that stuff flows on from that. So what would you say to people, you know, who are struggling just to get started, or have maybe fallen off the wagon? I mean, I hate that term, but people understand what I mean by it, and really want to realign with what's important to them. What sort of advice would you give them?
Well, I give very similar advice. I always tell them to start out with the one meal and focus on making one meal a day. Well, first focus on not drinking anything with carbohydrate in it.
Yeah, like soft drinks and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people drink their carbs and don't even realize that they're getting a lot of sugar, you know, from throughout the day from drinking. So I usually tell them to, you know, first stage, eliminate that. Focus on all animal products, you know, butter, real butter, anything that comes from an animal, any plants that they eat, you know, those have to be in moderation too, because they do have carbs in them as well. So, you know, I don't eat a whole lot of vegetables, but other people may want to. So I don't, you know, tell people they can't have vegetables, because there is vegetables that they can have, but just in moderation. You know, like don't pig out on them, because they do have carbs as well. But you know, all animal products is really important. And women don't get enough protein, and they're scared about the protein, I find.
Yeah, I agree. It's you know, when I get asked how much protein I should eat, my answer is more. You know, we never eat as much as we think we need. But I think for a visual, if you look at your plate and you make it mostly protein, and you eat that first until you're satisfied, and then whatever else you want, you can have after that. But that's your first, and don't obviously go for the lean stuff. Certainly in the beginning, make sure you eat, you know, and that's good because it's cheaper usually. If it's the fattier sort of cut, you can go for that. But I love how you brought in the drinks, because I think too, it's looking at, you know, you've got to look at your individual circumstances and what are the big red flags. You know, even if it's just cutting down on that first, that's going to do a world of good to your body. But, you know, again, remember, we're so conditioned to thinking we have to follow a diet. And now I think it's really good to get some help of someone like yourself or me as a coach to help navigate it for you in the beginning. But ultimately, you want to start off as a lifestyle. You don't want to go on another diet, because diets they set you up for failure. And again, they miss the point of this healing journey being about connecting with you and listening to your body, and, you know, just knowing that when we eat an appropriate diet, we don't have to ever count or track or do meal plans. You know, I get all that in the beginning. It's, you know, there's steps, and there'll be, you know, to do that for a little bit, if it makes it easier, fine. But ultimately, it's just about the choices that you make at each meal. And the ideal is 2 to 3 meals a day and no snacking. Yeah, would you agree?
It's amazing how after you do this for a while and you're eating 3 meals a day, and all of a sudden you've eaten enough protein and enough fat, and you don't even want your first meal of the day. You go longer, and you find out that you're even fasting, and you didn't even know you were fasting or intended to. It just happens.
And when it first happens, I know it can be quite scary, because again, we're so conditioned to eat to a clock, or just eat because it's breakfast, lunch, or, you know. And what about the 6 meals a day so our metabolism doesn't drop? Well, of course, we know that that's rubbish unless you're really seriously restricting. But when you're eating nutrition coming from quality nutrients, real food, animal protein, good quality fat, so that our nutrients can be absorbed, we don't have to worry about that. We can listen to our body and eat when we're hungry. Pretty cool.
Salt is another big thing that
Salt.
people are scared of.
Yep.
Salt and fat, because we've all been conditioned that that's bad for us.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up. Of course, it is very, very essential, and I have no doubt there'll be speakers in the summit talking about that. But if there isn't, obviously look up Dr. James DiNicolantonio, the Salt Fix guy.
Yeah.
He will alleviate. Again, see, remember what happens. Put it in your considering cup. If you believe salt causes heart disease and is bad for you because that's what we've been told, just put it over here and then look into it until you're comfortable enough to say, you know what, actually it doesn't. I mean, I eat teaspoons of salt a day in water every day. And
I do too.
Yeah.
And then, there's some products out there. I mean, we're not advertising for anyone in particular, but the LMNT and the Red both have a great for electrolytes that I enjoy.
Absolutely. I have the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
every
good.
day.
But I was programmed to eat low fat, low salt for so many years, and I was on 2 different blood pressure medicines, and now I'm not on any blood pressure medicines, and I eat a lot of salt.
Well, salt's so important. This is what people don't realize. It's the sodium, magnesium, and potassium, the electrolytes. If our body doesn't have those things, our body can't convert our nutrients into energy. It just does it at a cellular level. Our body doesn't function properly. And things like headaches, to have a look at Dr. Angela Stanton's talk around how sodium is so essential if you have migraines, cramps, even, heart palpitations. It's again, like we get told the wrong thing, and, it just requires some courage, as you say, and just some time to really learn. Well, actually, that's wrong. That's based on no science. This is the science, and there is so much evidence for it. And you look at people like yourself and me and all the speakers in the summit who are thriving and aging in a way that, most people don't get that opportunity to do. And
did you find my skin is so soft now, and it used to be like really dry and scaly, and now my skin is like soft.
Yeah, it's interesting. In my 30s, I used to put all this hand cream on in winter, particularly in my 30s, and I'd wear white gloves to bed every night because my skin was so dry and sore.
It would crack.
Crack in here and in my toes. And I had that for years and years and years, and I haven't had that for 5 years now.
I'm looking so forward to all the speakers.
Yeah. Before we go on to that and we finish up, let me just say that you, Tia, look 25, but you are a grandma and you are in your 50s. I just want to say, because you look so young and your skin is beautiful and you're so vibrant. But, you're not. You're in your 50s, and, this is the potential. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I feel so good, and I want that for everyone listening.
Yeah.
I hope that there's many out there that believe in it and can take in some insight into it, and to know that you're not alone, and that there's many of us out there like this. And if you're on a bunch of medications, to please be under a doctor's care, because your eating this way will heal your body, and your medications will get very potent. You'll need to eliminate them.
And that's a really,
20 of them for me.
Point. Yeah, and even quite quickly, particularly blood pressure medications, they can need adjusting quite quickly. Now, that's where, we in Australia, I think we're doing a little better here in terms of our low carb community. We have a lot of doctors really there, and you can see any doctor here on telehealth. So, I spend a lot of my, in Melbourne, but I see a doctor in Sydney. So, I think it's so worth getting a doctor. And of course, I've got the list. I'll have them in the hub, so in the summit for you to find, but it's so worth connecting with a doctor that understands what happens to your body when you change what you eat, and you eat a species appropriate diet. And unfortunately, most doctors are trained on medications, and diet doesn't even come into it. So to really have that support, I think that's a fantastic tip.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Pam Divine talking about the doctors that are available in America, because you can look those up on the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners, and she'll give us information on that.
She will. It's growing.
Yeah.
It's growing. It's a groundswell.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably enough from us. Should we let everyone get on with everybody else?
Yeah. It's going to be exciting.
Exciting. Well, if you want to reach out to Tia or myself, all our information is obviously in the page for you. But I can't thank Tia enough for your love and support and connection, and for coming and sharing what you've shared with everybody today. It's a really good chat. I hope it was helpful for people. And yeah, thank you so much, Tia.
Lots of love to everyone.
Bye, everyone.